Hello, and welcome to the Beginner's Guide. Yeah, I'm really not sure what to expect from this. I know this is a game about game development. I know that this is not so much a game as it is an exploration of many half-finished games. I know it's made by the guy who made Stanley Parable. I know it's apparently made based off of prototypes and demos from a friend of his who is a game developer who quit game developing, and I don't really know what else to expect. If you're interested in game development, apparently I should recommend you play this yourself rather than watching a video, but I don't know. Let's just start it.
Hi there. Thank you very much for playing The Beginner's Guide. My name is Davey Reedon. I wrote The Stanley Parable, and while that game tells a pretty absurd story, today I'm going to tell you about a series of events that happened between 2008 and 2011. We're going to look at the games made by a friend of mine named Coda. Now, these games mean a lot to me. I met Coda in early 2009 at a time when I was really struggling with some personal stuff, and his work pointed me in a very powerful direction. I found it to be a good reference point for the kinds of creative works that I wanted to make. So just to start you off, this is, I think, the first game he ever made. It's a level for Counter-Strike. You can walk around here, by the way. And mostly it's just Coda learning the basics of building a 3D environment. But what I like is that even though he starts from the simple aesthetic of a desert town, he then scatters these colorful abstract blobs and impossible floating crates around the level. And of course, it destroys the illusion that this actually is a desert town, and instead this level becomes a kind of calling card from its creator. It's like a reminder that this video game was constructed by a real person. And it kind of makes you wonder, what was going through his head as he was building this? This is what I like about all of Coda's games. I mean, not that they're all fascinating as games, but that they are all going to give us access to their creator. I want us to see past the games themselves. I want to get to know who this human being really is. And that's exactly what we're going to do here. So, it's 2008, Coda starts making these games, and he never releases any of them. He doesn't put them onto the internet, he just makes them and then immediately abandons them, and they sit on his computer forever. And I think he really understood this image of himself as a recluse. At one point he jokingly renamed his computer's recycling bin to Important Games Folder. So, you know, this was just how he worked. He tended to crank them out one after the other without even really pausing to try to understand what he had just made, until suddenly one day, he just stopped. In 2011, that was it. He made his last game, and then he hasn't made another one since. And that's why I've taken this opportunity to gather all of his work together, is because I find his games powerful and interesting, and I'd like this collection to reach him, to maybe encourage him to start creating again. And if the people like you who play this also happen to find his work interesting, then I'm sure it'll just send that much stronger of a message of encouragement to Coda. So thanks for joining me on this. If you have a particular interpretation that I haven't mentioned here, or if you just need to get in touch, you can email me at daveywreden@gmail.com. Okay, that's about it for introduction. Let's take a look at Coda's first proper game. As each game is loading, I'll show you the date that it was completed. This first one was made in November 2008.
Yeah. So it's pretty interesting. It's really weird. This game is just so meta that I hate saying that, but it's so meta, which is interesting. Yeah. So
this game is called Escape from Whisper, and it's one of the more generic games you'll see from Coda.
And as you can see, there's an alarm. Supposed to be escaping. We have a gun. It shoots. I've seen a little bit of this level before, so I know a bit, but not much.
Security call breached. Hostile alien life form inbound.
And
it kind of looks like this game was abandoned mid-development. For instance, you have this gun, which you'd think would indicate that there are supposed to be monsters or enemies somewhere, but then clearly there are no enemies anywhere. You can't even reload the gun when you run out of bullets. But ultimately we don't really know. Maybe Coda thought that actually it was complete the way that it is. And I think that we should talk about his games for what they are, rather than for what they're not.
Enemy force neutralized. Begin ship evacuation.
I love how you can see the bottom of the universe from this room.
Huh.
Apparently this space station has a labyrinth on it. Sure, I don't know. There's really no reason for it that I've ever been able to discern, so in the interest of time, I'm just gonna skip you on past it.
No.
Or, if you'd really like to solve the labyrinth, you're welcome to do that too.
Yep, this is definitely the creator of the Stanley Parable. He recognizes that I'm just gonna say no and do my own thing. So he's like, okay, go ahead. You can do that if you want. I'm really not gonna spend all my time in here though, because I do not want to make this a super long video, but I do kind of want to explore this game for a bit on video before I maybe continue off screen. I don't know.
Okay, this is the part that's interesting. The game has this narrative about the Whisper Machine and how it has to be turned off, and then you get to the engine room.
Hey, you there, in the engine room. You could save us all. That beam is powering the Whisper Machine. We could disrupt it by introducing a great enough heat signature. If your body could stop the beam. It's so much to ask, but for all of our lives, would you do it? Could you give yourself?
Wow. It just straight up asks you to commit suicide.
Let me pause here for a second. What you just experienced, stepping into the beam and then dying, is probably what Coda had initially intended when he was developing this level. But when he first compiles and plays it, something goes wrong. There's a bug somewhere. And this is what happens instead.
Wait. What? Wait a second. Whoa.
The beam causes you to start floating. And this is an important moment for him. Because yes, this is technically a glitch, but Coda identifies something human about it, like how small it makes you feel in the face of this larger chaotic system. Or this floating could be the afterlife, a peaceful place, juxtaposed against all of the hysteria that you've just had to traverse. I don't even know. I have no idea what he was thinking, but what's clear is that after making this, something lodges itself in his brain. He wants to do more of these really weird and experimental designs. So he stops work on this and moves on to a stream of tiny little games that go in all sorts of directions. Let's go ahead and take a look at the first game he made after leaving this one behind.
Minecraft! No. Obviously not. The past was behind her. Oh.
Yep. In this game, you can only walk backwards.
Whoa. Not sideways even, just backwards. I love the music in this. That's just nothingness back there. Can you fall in it? No. What?
So it's a short and relatively minimalist experiment combining motion and narrative. It is less advanced than the previous game, but actually it seems to be more focused, more complete. Coda's trying to give it a unique voice rather than simply basing it on a pre-existing trope.
Wow. I see why everybody was raving about this game. Oh! There's another... There's another path. Sorry about the frame rate issues.
It's a short little thought, it says what it wants to say, and then it ends. Didn't need anything more than that. Which to me is why it works, because it gets out quick. Okay, next one.
Okay. Wow. Super linear game. I'm now entering. What am I now entering?
And that's it. Okay, the meaning of this game won't be clear just yet. Please be patient with me for a few more games, and I promise you'll see what makes it interesting. Oftentimes, Coda would put bizarre titles like this one at the start of his games. I wish I'd known him at the time that he was making these early games. He would really only talk to me about his work as he was making it. Once he stopped work on a game, that was it. It was dead to him. And I don't agree with that at all, but what are you gonna do?
Yeah, if you haven't noticed by now, I'm pretty much speechless by all this. This is getting slower.
Once you've been slowed to an absolute crawl, the door at the top of the stairs opens. So why, if Coda's not showing these games to anyone, why bother opening the door at all? Well, to show you, I'm modifying the game here so that when you press enter, it'll bring you back up to full speed so you can enter the door for yourself.
No. I'm gonna see if you can make it at a crawling speed, or will it eventually just stop you? Almost there. I thought it had stopped me for a minute. Alright, I'm gonna go ahead and enable full speed. What?
A room that's warm and nice and filled with little ideas for games. Coda would often tell me that he didn't mind if people thought of him as cold or distant. He said that he knew that he was actually a vibrant and compassionate person, but that it takes time to really see that. It can be a very slow climb to get there.
Sorry, one of the ideas in that last one was you are in a small room until you realize you can just walk through walls. So I immediately had to try walking through the walls of this one. Interesting. Okay.
Well, this is new for Coda. It's an actual puzzle. Go ahead and see if you can solve it.
Okay. Open the door. Seems fairly straightforward. Except now we can't go any further than this. It's really dark and misty. Oh, maybe. Aha.
Don't forget that solution, because we're going to see this puzzle again soon. We're gonna see it a lot.
Similar room design. Can you... No? Okay. Is there a little...
So that seems to be it, right? You walk down a corridor, you solve a puzzle, you get to the end. Simple enough. Alright, now I'm going to modify the game again, so that when you press enter, it'll remove all of the walls from this room.
Okay. Interesting.
How about that? There was more to it than we had any way of knowing. I actually find it funny that this game comes after the Stairs game, since they essentially convey the opposite idea. So, in the Stairs game, a dull exterior concealed a rich interior. And then, in this level, a dull interior hides this fantastic outer world. Either way, I think that the point is the same, is that most of the time you don't get to know what you're missing, or even that you're missing anything. That's not your role as a player. So if your role here is not to understand, then what is it?
Oh, hey. We're back to this again. Okay. I'm now entering.
So, this, combined with the entering game from earlier, tells us that Coda believes his games are connected somehow. It could even be that the Stairs game and the puzzle game are literally connected in between this and the entering game. There's a bigger picture that all of his games are meant to play a role in, some larger meaning that we won't be able to grasp until we've seen all of them. And once we have, we can step back and start to understand what exactly that bigger picture is.
Okay. Something I always do when I start a game, by the way, just saying, is I look around, because you never know what's been hidden right behind you. And oftentimes there isn't anything, but sometimes there is. I started really doing that when I played an Oculus Rift demo.
Let's talk about video game development for a second. Every video game runs on what's called an engine, which determines what the game can and cannot do. So in other words, the engine is a set of tools for game development.
Anyhow, I was just gonna
To
say...
make all of these games,
okay.
Coda is using
Fine.
an engine called Source. Like all engines, Source has certain things that it does well, and it has certain things that it does poorly. One of the things that it does very well is boxy linear corridors. That's why so many of Coda's games are set in these large, flat, empty rooms, is just because he's working with what the engine does well. The tools available to the creator shape what kinds of creative work they're going to end up making. You might consider paying attention to the architecture in Coda's games, to notice how they seem to stem from an engine that's very good at producing linear, boxy corridors.
Yeah. I was just gonna say, because I tried an Oculus demo, and before I got to try it, I saw several other people trying it, and no one ever looked behind them. No one ever thought to take account of the fact that they're in a truly 3D look-anywhere environment. They always just looked ahead, a little to the right, a little to the left, a little up, a little down. And so the first thing I wanted to do was, what's behind me? And ever since that time where I had the thought, what's behind me? And I looked and I saw that while it wasn't much, there was something back there, something worth seeing. Every time I start a game, I look behind me. Anyhow, let's continue with what this is trying to show us. The Streetwise Fool. It's a very tiny bathroom. Can we jump? Can we crouch? No. Is there a way to... Wait, maybe? Aha! No, you can't go in that door anyhow. Hey, look! More insanity. More of... This is not at all what you expected. Oh, I thought I was gonna miss for a moment there. Ha ha ha. Scary. But the question is, will it even let you miss? Oh shit, it will. Oh fuck. No, no, no. What? I swear to God, it was like guiding me down once I missed. I'm in a prison? Am I being directed into a cell?
This prison, funny enough, in Coda's original design, the doors stayed shut for a full hour before letting you go. If you don't mind, I think we're gonna skip that.
Yeah, I don't mind. I don't mind. This is one case where I
This is something that he and I used to argue about a lot. You know, whether a game ought to actually be playable, whether it means anything if no one can get through it. And I would always defend that, you know, all this work goes into the game, why not make it playable and accessible? And so we just got into heated arguments over it, and there was one time that after one of these conversations, he went home, and a day or two later, he sent me a zip file entitled Playable Games that was full of hundreds of individual games, each of which was just an empty box that you walked around in and nothing else. Believe me, I played every single one of those just to find out if there was like a gag hidden somewhere. There wasn't.
Yeah, I see why you really should be playing this yourself instead of watching a video. Hint, hint. Go buy this. Especially right now. It's on sale. It's really cheap. You should get it. I mean, if you think this is interesting. Obviously, if you don't, you've probably turned it off by now. But if you're still watching, you should go buy this. Wow. There's a lot of just everything. Cells everywhere. So is this entire thing built in Source, where he's just cobbled together all these levels and games and things from other projects? That's amazing.
It's the puzzle again.
Yeah.
With the exact same solution as the last time.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Hello again.
There's still no clear indication of what makes this puzzle so special that Coda is going to return to it over and over. But I promise I'll share with you my interpretation very shortly.
The outside world, except we're really far underground. But this being a game, space doesn't necessarily have to make sense. Listen. To me? Hey, look, it's my viewers! Or watchers listening. Yes? Hi. You there.
Here,
Did you come
Coda
from
begins
above?
using a kind of dialogue system that he fashioned out of the engine's chat capabilities. Use the 1, 2, 3 buttons on your keyboard to respond.
Yes. I don't know. I don't. I didn't solve it. Someone else let me in. I don't know what I was supposed to do there. Am I supposed to just leave now? There's another group of them. It's the same room. Was there a puzzle you had to pass through? Yes. Yeah. I know what you're talking about. Don't think too hard about it. You'll see it again soon.
And so we make one last descent down to the final floor of the level.
Hey, this looks familiar.
It's a lamppost. Okay, I can't tell you quite why, but for some reason Coda fixates on this lamppost. It's going to appear at the end of every single one of his games from here on out. I'll tell you what I think. I think that up to this point, you know, he's been making really strange and abstract games with no clear purpose, and maybe you can only float around in that headspace for so long. Because now he wants something to hold on to. He wants a reference point. He wants the work to be leading to something. He wants a destination, which is what this lamppost is. It's a destination. We're going to see it in the work as well. His games are just going to become a lot more cohesive, a lot more fully developed, with more of a clear idea behind them. And as we go, that idea will get clearer and clearer and clearer.
I was gonna end the video just then, but is this real? How would I leave a note? Was this but he said he never released them, but the whole concept of this one is that it's connected to the internet and you can leave notes as you walk around, and everything you encounter is notes that other people have left. But if he never released
So first
it...
off, I'm sure you can deduce this, but this game is not connected to the internet. All of the notes that you're gonna see have been written by Coda.
Yeah.
This was actually the first game of his that I ever played. This was shortly after I met him at a weekend game jam in Sacramento, where I grew up. I saw him working on this very level, and it was just so different from anything that anyone else was doing. So right away I was like, I have to be friends with this person. In retrospect, I think I was probably a bit too pushy, trying to get his attention. I was over-enthusiastic. But he was very gracious about it and very patient with me. And I cooled off eventually. Oh, feel free to skip over any of these notes if they're not doing anything for you. Nothing extra is going to happen if you read all of them. Either way, to me they convey a sense of loneliness. I see this person who's filled with thoughts and feelings and beliefs and has no way to express them except as scattered and unheard voices in a game that wasn't meant to be played. But it's ironic, isn't it? That in playing this game and seeing how alone Coda often felt, that we get to know him better and actually kind of connect with him. And I have to be honest with you, this idea is really seductive to me. That I could just play someone's game and see the voices in their head and get to know them better and have to do less of the messy in-person socializing. I could just get to know you through your work. I think this is why I always liked Coda's games so much, is because it felt like they let me have that connection. I felt as though he was inviting me personally into his world. And then I feel less lonely too.
This one. A flying penguin. Rambly and long and disturbing.
In a world full of notes, one man will read all of them. This summer, you will believe blue speech bubbles can talk.
I feel like some of these ideas, like the room full of ideas, and then like the idea of a game that's connected to the internet that lets you just throw notes around. Like, I want to take these ideas and do something with them, but I also don't, because I kind of want to let this be its own thing. It's weird. I wonder if you can fall off. I don't want to though, because I want to read all of these. I'm gonna go ahead and end the video here with me just reading more of these. Thanks for watching. Go check out the game yourself. And I'll see you in a strange, empty space full of platforms and random things.